Hello everyone, my name is Danny and this is Friday Reads. If you are new here, this is where I jump into the booktube conversation with my thoughts on what I've been reading this week and what I'm thinking about reading in the future. You can compare books with me on Goodreads. My username is DannyNNC, and I also have a blog that I write with impressions of all the books that I've read called Average Gal Reads. The links will be down in the description box. Okay, this week ending the 23rd of June 2017, I've managed to be working on two books at the same time. This is not totally unusual for me because I often have a fiction book and a nonfiction book on the go. What is unusual is for me to be reading two novels at the same time. Usually I don't read two fictional books at the same time because I don't know why. In the past I think I've been afraid that I would mix up the stories, but lately I started thinking, I can watch different television shows and I know what's going on in the different television shows. I don't get them mixed up, so maybe I won't get the books mixed up, and so far that's working out well. I don't know if I could handle more than reading two novels at a time, but I'm going slow, two at a time. So far seems to be working okay. So this week I'm reading a backlist title and an arc. Okay, so the arc, I'll mention, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'll do a full arc talk video on that probably next week. The arc, I am referring to my notes, is The Wives' Revenge by Lindsay Hutchinson. It is scheduled to be published July 1st. It is published by Aria Publishing, and they're a digital first publishing house, so I guess that means that their books go to ebook first. I don't know if they ever make it to paper or not, but they go to ebook first. I have previously read an arc from them called Second Chance Tea Shop, which I liked okay. Their books so far, the books I've seen from them tend to be set in the UK, so I don't know if they have any US, but the books seem to be available in the US, but they seem to be set in the UK. So The Wives' Revenge is set it spans a decent amount of time, but it starts in 1884, and that's the only time that they mention the setting of the book is at the very beginning of the book. But since it spans an amount of time, I think it goes into the early 1900s, judging from the presence of trains and everything. But anyway, it is about a small town or village in England called Wednesbury, and there is a group of wives in Wednesbury who seem to be the local, on the down low, hush hush enforcement. It's during a time, of course, in the late 1800s where men run things. And, it's a time where if you marry a man, all your money goes to him. But in this town anyway, the women are the ones, this small group of women anyway, are the ones who make sure things get evened out. If a man beats his wife to a pulp, the wives manage to do something about it. And so it follows a span of time of the things that they do to try to even the scales of justice. I'm about 60% done with it. I had started reading it and kind of stopped at the 18% mark because I was like, not sure if I'm liking this. But since it is an arc, and as I've said in a previous Friday Reads, arcs weigh heavily on me. I can't let them sit. If a publisher has given me an arc, especially since I don't have a large subscriber list with a lot of views, so if they are nice enough to give me an arc, I do my best to read it quickly, do reviews, put them up wherever I can, and, Amazon, Goodreads, what have you, to do my part in exchange for them being nice enough to give me the book. That doesn't always mean I give a good review. As in this book, like I said, it wasn't clicking with me, and I let it sit for several days, but then I picked it back up this morning, and once I got around the 30% mark, it really started to pick up for me, to where I'd spent several hours reading and almost didn't go down and get my breakfast until lunchtime. But I'll talk about that book more later. The other book that I am reading, which I actually just started last night, is Trade Me by Courtney Milan. Now, as I said, this is a backlist title. It was published in 2015. And most of the books that I read, I just recently started reading ARCs more regularly. Most of the books that I read are backlist because I am a big user of my library. And so, I haven't had the patience in the past to put my name in the queue for the more popular books or the new books. So I usually just wait. I just wait a year or two till the hype dies down, and then I get a book. But I saw another YouTuber called Fangirl Musings. She reviews romances and K-dramas, and she recently did a video about this book, and I'd heard of this book before, but her video that she just recently posted just sparked something in me for a reason, because I'd heard of Courtney Milan before too, but it sparked something in me, and it's like, you know what, even if there's a waiting list, I'm going to go ahead and request that book because it sounds interesting. And strangely enough, even though it said there was a waiting list, my name was at the top, and I got it like a day after I requested it, so that's pretty cool. For those, I've only read the first two chapters so far, so I haven't really gotten into it, but so far I like what I've read. For those who aren't familiar with the book, who haven't read it, it has the hero and heroine are, opposite sides of the tracks. The heroine, Tina Chen, is an Asian American, and her family has fallen on hard times, so she's having to, she's in college. These are college students. She's going for a double major, working, and just doing everything she can. She can't even live near campus because it's too expensive for her, and that sort of thing. So she's doing everything she can to stay in school. And then the hero, whose name escapes me right now, and I didn't write it down, but the hero is the child of a Bill Gates Steve Jobs type character. He has this tech company that has made billions, and makes apps and tablets and different things like that. And so this kid has been in line for money since birth, and so he doesn't really need to go to college, and his father doesn't really want him to go to college. His father wants him to just go ahead and take over the company. And so they have a clash. They're both in a class that has a discussion about poverty, and there's no spoilers here. This is all in the description. They have kind of a clash in the class debate about poor people, and whether they get what they deserve, or whether they can pull themselves out of it or whatever. And she makes, she's really angry. She makes a comment to him that he couldn't survive her life for even 1 month. And so they decide that they're going to trade lives. As I said, the story is told in alternating first person. So the first chapter was Tina's point of view, and then the second chapter was the hero's point of view. So I've only read one of each of their chapters. So I'm just to the point where the hero is thinking, you know what, I think I would like to trade lives with her and see how it goes. So that's where I am now. I stopped right there on purpose before I got into it too far, because I knew I had this arc that I wanted to finish. But so far I'm kind of enjoying it. I hesitated. I think the reason I had heard of this before and not requested it, not only because there's a waiting list at my library, but because it is new adult, and I've read exactly one new adult book, and it just threw me, because I have kids who are in the new adult category. That, you know, I have a 24-year-old, two 20-year-olds, and an 18-year-old who's going to be 19 in 2 weeks. So I have kids who are kind of in that category. And the new adult that I read, somebody almost got raped, somebody got beaten up, and then the hero and heroine having sex. I'm like, I can't read about my kids' age having sex. I read usually Christian romance, where yes, the characters may be 19 or 20 years old, but I don't think of them as being the age of my kids, because it's historical. So they're usually on a farm, they're already working, taking care of the kids, whatever. So I cannot, just ignore that they're the same age of my kids, because their responsibilities are different and what have you. But seeing characters who are the age of my kids, it just tough. I may have already said this in another video, so I'm going to stop going on about it. But so far, I'm able to put that out of my mind, because I thought to myself, I'm going to miss out. Not that I'm purposely going to seek out new adult, but at the same time, I'm going to miss out on some good books if I can't ever read any contemporary books with 20 to 25 year olds. I'm going to miss out on some books that I might otherwise enjoy. So I'm trying to put that kind of, but we'll see, because we haven't gotten any sex in this book yet. So we'll see. As for future reading, I'm about 5 books ahead on my Goodreads goal, which was to read 50 books this year. So, they kind of space it out, and if you're reading faster than expected, they tell you you're this many books ahead or whatever. I guess they divide up that you should read a book a week or 2 books a week or however, based on your goal. So I'm 5 books ahead, so I feel like I'm doing good. I'm back on track, because I was behind for a while, even though I feel like I set a modest goal. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't getting much reading done, so I feel like I'm doing better now. And I still want to clear off, go through the books in my library wish list and my iPad, Kindle, all those free books that I have there. But I'm starting to think now, I came to this thought when I was looking at the yarn that I have in my house, and I know that yarn book's not the same thing, but I have a lot of old yarn that I've had for almost 10 years and couldn't find anything to do with it. And the more I look at it, the less I'm inspired to do anything with it. And some of it I'm thinking, just give it away. Just give it away. And I'm starting to think the same thing about the books on my list, is that some of those books have been there for so long. And I've also started using a new app for my library. Overdrive has put out a new library app called Libby, and I really like that app. But my original wish list from my library does not carry over. Even though my library uses Overdrive, the original wish list does not carry over automatically to the Libby app when I log in. So that would basically necessitate me starting over if they decide that. Right now I can still access the original and the new app, but if they get rid of the original, then I'd have to start over anyway. And that made me start thinking, well, is that a bad idea? I can't really even think of any of the books that are on that list right now that I would miss, because some of them have been on there for 5 or 10 years. So, if I didn't read them right away, then maybe I'm not that interested in them. And same thing with the books on my Kindle. Maybe I should just delete most or all of them. Am I really going to miss them? When they're gone? I've been passing over them since 2013. Am I going to miss them? So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. Another thing that I am thinking about is that I spend so much time thinking, I should go back to my TBR that I've already started on Goodreads and pick books from there. I should go back to my library wish list and pick books from there. That I listen to several book podcasts like Smart Bitches Trashy Books podcast, and I watch some booktubers, and I keep hearing some of the same romance authors over and over. I also listen to the Scandal and the Nerd Herd, and I hear some of the same authors mentioned over and over, and I realize I consider myself a romance reader, but I haven't read some of these authors who are really the most popular ones that get mentioned over and over. And I think that's because when I go to pick a book, I feel duty bound to go back to my TBR list. So, and some of these authors that are mentioned over and over, I don't even have them on my TBR list, because it's like, I know it's going to take a long time to get them from the library, or my library doesn't have them at all, so I don't even have them on my list. But now I've decided for the last half of this year, I'm still going to try to clear off my TBR, but I'm also going to make more of an effort to sprinkle in authors like Lisa Kleypas and Eloisa James and Kristen Ashley and Courtney Milan. A lot of these authors that people talk about, Julia Quinn, that they talk about, are just these wonderful, like everybody has read this author if you're a romance author. Everybody has read that author if you're a romance author. And I haven't read them. I've read practically, if there was a podcast talking about Christian historical romance, I bet I would recognize all the authors they would talk about, because I have read so much of Mary Connealy and Deanne Gist and Lori Wick and Lorraine Snelling and all of those authors that everybody knows. But on the contemporary side and the secular side, I haven't read any of the popular ones, so I'm going to make more of an effort to do that. The last thing I want to mention is that in an effort to read more of those authors that I keep hearing mentioned, I went ahead and activated my free 30-day trial for Kindle Unlimited. I have put off doing that because I was like, I have so many books already on my wish list and on my, books that I've downloaded onto my Kindle that were free, not part of Kindle Unlimited, just free, that I don't really need Kindle Unlimited. I don't really need one more place to access books from when I already have my library, and occasionally I read books from Open Library, which are like older books from the Internet Archive. I felt like I don't need one more place to get books from. But I have found that a lot of books that booktubers are mentioning, especially indie authors, are available with Kindle Unlimited, but not at my library because they're indie authors. So I went ahead and activated my Kindle Unlimited. So far I haven't really picked anything to read yet, so I really need to get on the stick. I haven't really picked much of anything. I've just been browsing because I don't know where to start, but I've got like 3 weeks left because I've already wasted a week, so I've got 3 weeks left on that, and I don't know if it's not terribly expensive. It's $10 a month, but I don't know that I have $10 a month in my budget right now, since I'm not working, to put on books when I can get books from the library. So I I need to get on the stick and figure out who I should read on Kindle Unlimited. So if you are a Kindle Unlimited user and you read romance, do you have any favorites that are still available with the Kindle Unlimited subscription? I really want to get on to reading more of what other people are reading. I like to read the backlist. I like to write reviews of stuff that I've read from the backlist, because I feel like just because a book is not the new hotness, that everybody's talking about, it shouldn't be forgotten. There's still really good books out there that have been out for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that sometimes get forgotten as people move on to whatever is new coming out. So that has always been the focus of my blog, is going back to the older books to remind people, hey, there's still cool stuff at your library that's not the brand new thing. But I also kind of feel like I'm missing out because I'm not at least checking out the new things every once in a while. So if you've got some suggestions of stuff that I can read from Kindle Unlimited, or suggestions of romance authors that like everybody has read, along the lines of Elisa Kleypas or Julia Quinn, something like that, please let me know. Other than that, thank you if you've listened this far. Thank you for listening. I don't know if I'll be doing a Friday Reads next week. My thoughts are that I will alternate doing an ARC talk one Friday and a Friday Reads the next Friday. Although if I have not finished an ARC to talk about, there may be some Fridays where you won't get a video, just to give myself a bit of a break, because I don't want to come on here and just ramble when I don't have anything to talk about. So that's the idea. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye.